guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to Team Barca. In today's video we are talking about Ansu Fati, about his injury and what Barcelona can do now that it seems like he's going to be out for 3 to 5 months. A conservative estimate is around 4 months. So we need to figure out what to do without one of our best players of the season being out for the next 4 months. So in today's video we are talking about some of the different players that might be able to play in his position, how we can tactically change in terms of getting the best out of the attacking forward that we do have at our disposal at the moment, but also who we might want to bring in during January, or somebody we could bring up from the B team to really contribute in that position that Ansu Fati has played so brilliantly for the last few months of the season. But let's start with just a quick update on what happened. So we played in the weekend, we played against Real Betis. Ansu Fati went in for the goal, or went in for the ball I should say, and kind of tripped in a sense. He was tackled while he was trying to go for the ball, and it looked like he did get a knock on his knee, but it seemed at the time it didn't seem really that serious. He continued to play for the rest of the first half and he was then brought off. We later found out after the game that he had a knee injury and that the doctors needed a few days to figure out how serious it was. After some scans being done, they found out that his meniscus had a tear, and there are 2 ways to solve this issue in a player's knee. The first one is that you can operate on him and you can take the meniscus out, or you can stitch it together. Those are the 2 options in terms of surgery, but the other option is a more conservative surgery, or not surgery, but treatment, I should say, kind of like the one that Umtiti had without much success. Barcelona decided to go for the surgery and fix the meniscus, meaning they would stitch it together. And the reason they did this, opposed to just completely taking it out, is due to Ansu Fati's age. So him being as young as he is, he's only 18, it's much better for him to have the knee recover and get the full strength back instead of just taking out the meniscus. If you take out the meniscus in a player's knee and they play at the highest level of football that you can play, playing at Barcelona, it puts a lot of strains on the knee, especially when you're a fast player. It does give some instability in terms of being able to move the way you want, to accelerate the way you want, and therefore it's more important that he gets the stability. And although the recovery time is slower, it's more important for him to get his knee back to what it was before, hopefully. Therefore, that's the reason they went with the more conservative treatment in terms of operating on him and then having him rest and train his knee back to full strength over the might be as long as 5 months, but probably around 4 months. So that's a quick update. In terms of the injury or the operation itself, it was successful. He stayed a day longer at the hospital than was first talked about by Barca, but that's normal for an operation like this. You can feel kind of ill and sick after, and nausea after having an operation like this, so it's perfectly normal. And we'll just have to wait and see for the next couple of weeks what happens to him when he gets back to Barcelona, and he has to do some of the training in terms of getting the strength back in the knee and the mobility and stability back in the knee. That was just a quick update on the operation itself, and now let's get into some of the players that might be able to take his spot while he's gone. Alright, as I see it, there are 5 different players who can replace Ansu Fati in the short term, medium term being it he can be out for as long as 4 months, and those are Pedri, Philippe Coutinho, Ousmane Dembele, Francisco Trincao, and of course the player we might bring in during the January transfer window, Memphis Depay. Those are the 5 obvious players. There might be a few players from the B team who might be able to make that step up. A guy like the American Conrad. He played with the team at the start of the season for just a short while. Conrad de la Fuente. and he's a left winger himself, and it might be a good fit for him. But I do think the other 5 players, there's a bigger chance of them succeeding in the short term. So let's start with Pedri. So Pedri is, just like Ansu Fati was just a few weeks ago, still 17. He's not a natural left winger or a right winger. He's an attacking midfielder, he likes to play centrally, but he has on several occasions for the last few months played on the left wing position when Ansu Fati hasn't played. He also started the El Clasico game as a right winger, and even though you can see that it really isn't his natural fit, he doesn't have blistering pace or anything like that. He is, although quite quick on the first few yards, but he is able to use his technical abilities, his tactical awareness on the pitch to play wide. And by playing wide, he can use his ability to dribble inwards and lay the ball off to a Griezmann, a Coutinho, a Messi in one of those central areas where they usually operate. I do think Pedri will be used in the next coming weeks when we get back from the international break on the left wing, and I do think that because he's one of the favorites of Koeman. I think it has been clear for the last few months that Koeman really likes what he sees in terms of Pedri, his ability not just on the ball but his off the ball work as well. He's constantly pressing, he's helping out in defense, and that's one of the aspects that some of the other players on the list really doesn't contribute that much to. And therefore I do think Pedri will get the option. But whether he's the right option or not, I'm not quite so sure. I do think that when we get Coutinho back, he's going to play less because he really is suited best for that position at the number 10 spot. So I hope to see sort of a competition between those two, Coutinho and Pedri, for the number 10 position. The next player on the list is Ousmane Dembele. Everyone who's followed Barca for the last few years knows about this guy. Obviously he's had a few injuries. He's had not that many injuries in fact, but they've just been extremely long. And he can play on the left and on the right. He's extremely two-footed, which obviously is a strong point for him. His dribbling ability is some of the best in La Liga, some of the best in Europe in my opinion. One of the problems with Ousmane Dembele though is the fact that defensively he doesn't really contribute with anything. He doesn't press too well. His defensive awareness on where to be on the wide areas of the pitch really isn't that great. He's great when he gets the ball into his feet and starts running at the opponent. He's deadly when he does that, but off the ball he needs to improve quite a lot. And he is 23, so I do think that Koeman, I wouldn't say that he knows he's not going to improve, but I think he sees that there might be a challenge in the future in terms of getting him to really contribute defensively. Therefore, I do think Ousmane Dembele is going to get chances when we're facing teams either where we need a goal or where it's obvious that we have chances to counterattack the opposing team. That could be if we played a team like Sevilla, for instance, or Atletico Madrid, which counterattacks themselves. But I do think that he's going to opt for a player that can improve the team more in terms of defensive contribution. And that's when we head over to Philippe Coutinho. He's one of the players that when he was brought in at Barca, a lot of fans were excited. I was also excited because he's a great player, but the issue I had with it was he's not a natural left winger. Kind of like Pedri, he isn't that fast. He's not a natural wide player. He likes to drift in centrally, and therefore it's always going to be an issue in terms of getting the most out of him when he plays on that left wing position. He can play there. He's also played there for Liverpool. He's played there for Brazil, but I would definitely put Philippe Coutinho on the number 10 spot, and I do think Koeman is going to decide to do that moving forward as well. I do think he would pick Pedri over Coutinho in terms of the left wing position. Francisco Trincao is another interesting shout. I do think he's preferred on the right wing, but being the age he has and the talent he has, the potential he has, I do think he should be able to play on either wing. It really shouldn't be a problem for him. being a left footer, of course he likes to kind of dribble inwards in field and maybe have a shot on goal, but we haven't seen him score or anything like that in the last few weeks, and therefore I do think that he can provide some width, just get the ball out wide, run at defenders, dribble and put the cross in, or the cutback to Messi, who is ever gonna arrive at that ball on just on the area. I do think Trincao is going to have options, but more on the right. If I were to say, I do think that Memphis Depay is going to be brought in January. It seems all the media is pretty much reporting him really making and saying and doing everything he can to really get the focus on him in terms of being brought in by Barca. In my opinion, I do think he's going to be brought in and he's going to play quite a lot in the spring, also because we need to wait for Ansu Fati to get back. I do think he's the natural left winger, because he can play naturally on the wing, but he can also push in that number 9 position. And I do think Koeman has asked on several occasions for him to be brought in. So in my opinion, if I were to really grade them, I do think Pedri is probably at the top. Dembele might be pushing him in terms of, because we need results. But Pedri, Dembele, in my opinion, then Coutinho is really battling it out with Trincao, but I do think Trincao has a better option in terms of really producing something from the left wing position, because Coutinho, as everybody knows, is better on that more central slot. And Memphis Depay, if he's brought in January, as I think he is, I do think he will be the natural replacement to whoever really takes that spot in the next few months. So that's my opinion in terms of who replaces Ansu Fati. I want to thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to my videos. I know this is a new channel and I'm just pretty much just figuring it all out, but if you do have any comments or anything you would want me to do differently or talk about, as a professional, as I work a lot with statistics, so I could definitely bring in some more statistical analysis if that's what you want to hear. But so far I've pretty much just been stating my opinions in terms of what happens at Barcelona, what we need to improve, how we can improve, and what happens in the future in terms of players leaving and players being brought in. I'm excited to do this. I'm very happy that you're listening in, and there's nothing left for me to say than enjoy the Spanish guitar on the way out, and Forca Barca.